Sometimes you read a text, and it just looks like a long, dry inventory list. But every now and then, hidden in all those details, there's this incredible story of craftsmanship, of purpose, and of just absolute devotion. And that's exactly what we're diving into today, as we unpack the divine blueprint for the priestly garments.
So let's really dig into that question. What does that kind of devotion actually look like? Well, as we're about to see, the answer is tucked away in this ancient blueprint, where every single thread, every stone, and every engraving has a profound purpose.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the divine blueprint, the sacred materials themselves. Then we'll see how all that stuff was transformed into these incredible garments, piece by piece. We'll look at the layers of meaning woven right into them, find out about the crowning glory of the whole outfit, and then stick around for the final inspection that ends with a blessing.
Every great project, right? It starts with a plan and the right materials. But this was a little different. In this case, the blueprint itself was divine, and the materials were all hand-picked for an incredibly sacred task.
Now, this wasn't just a random shopping list. It was a very specific symbolic palette. Each color was packed with meaning: blue for the heavens, scarlet for life, purple for royalty. And then you've got pure gold, but not just as some shiny decoration. No, they were hammering it into super thin threads and weaving it right into the fabric. These were the building blocks for garments designed to be used in a holy sanctuary.
And this phrase right here, this is the key to the whole story. You're going to see it pop up again and again, kind of like the chorus of a song. It's the gold standard, the constant reminder that this whole project isn't about human creativity. It's about perfect obedience to a divine command.
Okay, so let's get to the most intricate parts of the whole ensemble. And these weren't just clothes, these were masterworks of skill and symbolism designed specifically for the high priest.
First up is the ephod. The text calls it the work of skilled hands. And man, that is a serious understatement. I mean, can you imagine the artistry here? You have to hammer pure gold into sheets so thin you can cut them into strands, and then weave those strands of metal directly into the fabric. This is way beyond embroidery. This is where metallurgy meets textile art. Just incredible.
So this just breaks down how amazing that process was. It starts with turning solid gold into thread. Then comes the weaving, the actual construction of the vestment, and then finally setting 2 onyx stones on the shoulders. And each of those stones was engraved with the names of the sons of Israel, like a permanent memorial.
And that brings us to this number, 12. This number is absolutely central to the next piece. It represents the 12 tribes of Israel, the whole community, who the high priest would literally carry before God.
The next piece was called the breastpiece of judgment. It was basically a square pouch, folded in half to create a little pocket. The text gets really specific about its size, a span long and a span wide. A span is an old-school measurement, roughly the distance from the tip of your thumb to the tip of your pinky when your hand is stretched out. So just picture this perfectly made, hand-sized square designed to be worn right over the high priest's heart.
But the real showstopper of the breastpiece was the front. It had 4 rows of 3 precious stones, 12 unique gems in total. And on every single stone, engraved with the precision of a master seal cutter, was the name of one of the 12 tribes of Israel. The high priest literally carried the names of his people over his heart in this stunning, glittering mosaic of gems.
Okay, so beyond those 2 masterpieces, the rest of the outfit added even more layers of function and meaning, each piece kind of built on the last one.
Underneath the ephod was the robe. It was made completely of blue cloth, and get this, it had this amazingly practical detail, a reinforced band around the neck opening, just like the collar on a modern t-shirt, specifically so it wouldn't rip. Even in this divine, sacred garment, they were thinking about durability and function.
And the hem of this robe, wow, it was something else. It had these decorative little pomegranates made out of yarn, alternating with tiny bells made of pure gold. So, as the high priest moved around, the bells would chime, and their sound would signal his presence while he was ministering in the holy place.
The complete wardrobe for the high priest Aaron and his sons was also made with just as much care. It had tunics, a turban, and sashes, all made from fine linen. And what's really fascinating here is the distinction the text makes. The tunics were the work of a weaver, which means the pattern was woven right into the fabric itself. But the sash was the work of an embroiderer, meaning the design was stitched on top. It just shows this deep appreciation for the different skills needed for each part of the job.
All right, let's move on to the final piece of the priest's attire. And this wasn't just another layer. This was the sacred signature,
the most direct and powerful statement of purpose in the entire outfit.
Right there, on top of the turban, for everyone to see, was the final defining element.
Attached to the very front of the turban was a sacred emblem, a plate of pure gold, and engraved on it with the kind of permanence you'd expect from a seal were these 3 words, "Holy to the Lord." I mean, this was the ultimate declaration of consecration, dedicating the priest, and through him, the whole nation, to God.
And this golden plate wasn't tucked away somewhere. No way. It was put on prominent display, attached right to the front of the turban with a blue cord. It was, without a doubt, the crowning glory of a wardrobe designed for divine service.
So, after all the weaving, all the engraving, all the assembly, the whole shebang, the moment of truth arrives. The time comes for all the work to be presented. This is where the blueprint gets compared to the finished product.
The Israelites brought everything to Moses. And it wasn't just the garments, it was the entire tabernacle, the tent of meeting, all its furniture, its structure, its altars, every single piece of the project. I mean, the scale of this thing was just immense.
And there it is again, that central theme, that chorus. But now it's serving as the final verdict. After that huge, exhaustive list, the text confirms that every single detail across the whole massive project was done perfectly, exactly according to the original command.
And this brings us right to the climax of the story. Moses inspects it all. He sees the perfect faithfulness to the divine commands in every single piece. And his response isn't just a nod of approval, it's a blessing. This incredible, massive work of devotion is met with divine favor. The project is complete.
You know, this whole account leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. In our own work, in our own lives, when does paying attention to the little things stop being just detail? And when does it become an act of true devotion? Maybe the answer is in the intention that we pour into every single thread.